Come on. Why don't you want to do that?
When did you change your wallpaper?
When the Rams season ended.
Sorry, man.
Set. Okay, so first one, we got distance formula here, and we have to then go ahead and simply plug it in. Okay, distance formula x2 minus x1. Oops, I'm not writing x2. I want to write what x2 is. We are calling that 4 minus x1. So that's minus a negative 2 squared plus, okay, y2 minus y1, 1 minus 5. Okay, and then you just go ahead and do your order of operations. 4 minus a negative 2, that's like saying 4 plus 2, that is 6 squared. Okay, 1 minus 5, that's negative 4 squared. We go on. 6 squared is 36. I am completely working into problem 2, which is kind of obnoxious because I need that space for that problem. 6 squared is 36. Negative 4 squared is 16, so let's just do this in one step. 36 plus 16 is going to be 52. And then we're just taking the square root of 52. That's our distance. You could leave it at that. Honestly, again, probably a multiple choice question on your exam. It'll probably give you the decimal answer, so do square root of 52 in your calculator. Okay. Questions about distance formula? Okay. A diagonal sidewalk across a rectangular courtyard is 130 feet long. The width of the courtyard is 50 feet. What is the length of the courtyard? Well, it's talking about something we can draw. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to draw a rectangular courtyard, which is why I was saying I don't really want to run out of room here. Okay, rectangular courtyard. Diagonal is 130. And then the width of the courtyard is 50. Okay, so we are trying to find this. You know a rectangle has all four corners are right angles. So what we just created is a right triangle within this. We're missing only one side, so we can do the Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so it's leg squared plus other leg squared equals hypotenuse squared. 50 squared plus x squared equals 130 squared. And then you just go ahead and solve. 50 squared, that's going to be 2,500 plus x squared equals 130 squared. It's going to be a very large number. 16900. Okay, we then have to subtract 2,500 from both sides. Yikes, I'm running out of room. Okay. And that is 14400. That's x squared, remember. Okay, x squared equals that. If we want just x, our last step, we need to take the square root of it. So I take the square root of both sides. I believe that's going to be 120. Square root of 14400. Yeah, that is 120. So x equals 120. That is the answer to number 2, even though I totally worked into the space of number 3. Okay. When we have something like this, the good thing about this, it's asking the length of BC. Okay, so here is B and here is C. It's the length. So again, you have x1, y1, x2, y2, and you're using the distance formula. I already did an example using that formula. It's just like number 1. So I'm not going to go through this one completely for the sake of time. But it's just plug and chug using the distance formula, okay, which you are given on your formula sheet. Midpoint, we haven't done one like yet, so we'll do one of B and C. Do we have a preference? B. Okay, we'll do B. What is the midpoint of AB? Okay, well, B is at 5, 5. A is at 4, negative 2. It's basically average out your X's, average out your Y's. Okay, so what's halfway between 5 and 4? 4.5, good. Yep. Halfway between our x's. Our x's are 4 and 5. What's halfway between 4 and 5? 4.5. Exactly. And we do the same thing for the y's. Okay? We have negative 2 and 5. Maybe this one's harder to think about. Yeah. Between negative 2 and 5, that's a distance of 7. You can if you want. Otherwise, I would wait. That's a distance of 7. What is half of the distance of 7? 3.5. Yeah. So that's the midpoint formula. Okay. Could you follow the formula? Yeah, but that's what the formula is. It's just saying take half of the distance between your x's, comma, half the distance between your y's. Okay. Good with that?
Wait, hold on.
Yes.
Can you repeat what you just said, like, right now?
So when you're doing the midpoint formula, all you're doing is you're averaging your x's out. So since our x's were 4 and 5, halfway between 4 and 5, that's 4.5. And then our y's are -2 and 5. Those are 7 apart. So what's half of 7? 3.5.
Oh, just the X's?
So you average your x's, comma, average your y's. And our y's are -2, 5. Distance is 7. Got it?
And so that's the answer for number three?
Yep. It's just going to be an ordered pair.
Wait, but I got 1.5 for the second.
Weird.
So I was 3.5.
Should be 3.5. Do we want to do C to see the midpoint once more? Yeah, we can do that quick. Okay, midpoint of AC. A is at 4, C is at, the x of A is at 4, I should say, and the x of C is at -1. That's a distance of 5. What's halfway between 5?
Wait, what?
Sorry, that's a bad way of explaining it. Okay, 4 and -1 are what we have. You're averaging them, so you could think of it, okay, well, 4 plus -1 is 3. Divide 3 by 2, that's 1.5. Good. Okay, same thing for our y's. Add the y's up, -2 plus 3. That's actually just 1, right? And then you take that divided by 2. Half of 1 is 0.5.
So you do -2 plus 3 divided by 2.
Correct. Yep, so you add your x's, divide by 2, add your y's, divide by 2.
Isn't there also a midpoint formula?
Yes, there is. Yep, and you are also given that midpoint formula. Yep. That's essentially what the midpoint formula is. Add your x's, divide by 2, that's your x. Add your y's, divide by 2, that's your y. Okay? Better there with midpoint now?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, go into number 4. Use the figure to solve for x, find a, b, and bc. Okay, this is a good one because we are just saying, okay, well, if the whole length is 36,
Bye.
good to have you in class. Have an awesome vacation, Ethan. Okay, you have to add these two up. Those equal 36, right? So we have simply 2x minus 2 plus x plus 5 equals 36. Okay, does that make sense? Right? It's basically saying, well, hey, the first part is 2x minus 2, second part is x plus 5, so those two added up have to equal the whole length of 36. And now you go and you combine your like terms, 2x plus x, that's 3x. Okay, -2 plus 5, that's plus 3. When you combine those like terms, okay, again, equals 36. Go on, continue the solving for x process. Subtract 3 from both sides. 3x equals 33. Lastly, you want to get x alone, so you need to divide both sides by 3. Yep, and you should get x equals 11. Okay, 5 is a tricky one. So I would draw it out, okay? Point R is the midpoint of x, y. So I would draw it out, okay? Here is x, here is y, okay? And R is the midpoint, so here's R, okay? It's saying XR, 5x plus 3. Sorry, that's a 2, 5x plus 2. And XY is 14x plus 1. Okay, that's the whole distance is 14x plus 1. Okay. What is the length of RY? Okay, well, if we want to know the length, we have to solve for x. And if r is the midpoint here, well, then if this is 5x plus 2, this also has to be 5x plus 2 because it has to be the same. Okay? Do we get that?
Yeah.
Okay? Again, if r is the midpoint, well, then this has to equal this, right? Because if it's the midpoint, it's cutting it completely in half. So we have to have these two equal lengths. Okay? And then from there we're saying, okay, well then that means 2 of 5x plus 2, or in other words, you could say 5x plus 2 plus 5x plus 2, well that equals 14x plus 1.
So just like another way of doing it.
Yes. So you could say 2 times 5x plus 2 equals 14x plus 1, or you could say 5x plus 2 plus 5x plus 2 equals 14x plus 1. Okay, from there, if we do it this way, well, we need to remember to distribute. That means we have 10x plus 4 equals 14x plus 1. Do we want to keep going, or for the sake of time, should we move on? Because it's just solving for x, plug it in then.
We know how to do this.
I think we should know how to solve for x and plug it in also. Okay. Really fast. Okay, and then I would subtract 1, subtract 1. So we'd have 3 equals 4x, so x is going to equal 3/4. You then plug that in to 5x plus 2, so 5 times 3/4 plus 2 will give you ry. Okay, moving on to this next one. If we're talking bisecting, it says find the value of x if BD is bisecting our angle here. Okay, well if it's bisecting, that means to cut it in half. In other words, split it up into 2 equal angles. Okay, so what has to be true about these 2 angles it creates?
10x minus 51 is equal to 6x minus 11.
You got it. They have to be equal. 10x minus 51 equals 6x minus 11. From there again, it's just solving for x. Do I need to do that? Probably not, right? I think we're good with solving. It's the setup that we need to get down, and then it's just the same solving skills that you've been using for years to get x alone. Okay. Number 7, if you're asked to find the perimeter of something, well, the perimeter means the length of all of the sides added up. And BC, I mean, we can clearly see, right? BC is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so it's going to be 10 plus the distance between A and B and the distance between A and C. So again, it's going to be, okay, well, what are the ordered pairs of each of these? I guess we can list those. I'm not going to do the distance formula again because I did it in number 1. And it gets repetitive. A is at 2, 3. B is at 5, -4. And C is at 15, -4. Okay,
What formula do you use?
the distance formula then. So then we already found the distance between B and C because it's a straight horizontal distance. We can see it off the graph. But then we need now still the distance between A and B, so we use the distance formula with these 2 ordered pairs, and then we use the distance formula with A and C, those 2 ordered pairs. Once you get all those distances, you add it up. Okay, so I'm just going to write here distance formula. That's what you're doing. For the sake of time, we better keep going. Do we feel pretty good about using distance formula?
Yeah.
As long as you know how to plug and use it, it's hit pretty heavy on this Unit 1 page on the review, so therefore your exam also. So just make sure you know how to use that distance formula. Okay. And then you just add each side. Yep, distance formula, add each side. Now, like we said, we then wanted to go to the very last page, so we're doing first and last today. Okay, so we'll start in Unit 9 because this is what I saw most people doing. And if we're talking about Leah wrapping the box shown with construction paper, well, like I said, when you're wrapping something, that's the surface area. And then it even says, okay, find the surface area of the given figure. So we have a triangular prism here. So we just need to find the area of all of the faces and add them up. Okay, so we could start with the 2 triangular faces. And it has a base of 12, a height of 8. And a base times height divided by 2 is the area of a triangle. So I'm going to do 12, that's base, times height of 8. divided by 2, that's my area of a triangle. But how many of those triangular faces do you have?
One.
Triangular faces?
Oh, two.
Just the 2. Yep. So we got 2 of those. Okay. We go on. Now I still have 3 faces left, right? I have this rectangle, this back rectangle, and the bottom rectangle. Okay, this front rectangle here, that's a 10 by 20 rectangle. Okay, and this back one is also going to be 10 by 20. So I have 2 10 by 20 rectangles. So we need to add those in. And I'm writing obnoxiously big so that I can't fit anything, of course.
You're not divided by two.
Nope, because only in a triangle. Triangle's area formula is base times height divided by 2. Rectangle, it's just length times width. Lastly, we have that bottom rectangle, okay, up 12 by 20. So we just need to add that 12 by 20. Okay, then you just go ahead and add these all up. That's going to be your surface area. Do we want to do that quick or?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, 12 times 8, let's do that. Oops. 12 times 8, enter. The multiplying by 2 and dividing by 2 are basically going to cancel each other. So it is just 12 times 8, that's 96. Okay, plus 10 times 20 is 200. There's 2 of those, so that's like saying plus 400. Enter. And then lastly, plus a 12 times 20. And your final answer is going to be 736. We're talking centimeters, we're talking surface area, so centimeters squared. Square centimeters. Okay. Let's go ahead and do 43, finding the surface area for the paper cup with the dimensions shown in the diagram. Okay, nice enough is that your surface area formula for a cone is right here. Okay, so first thing we need is, well, what's your radius? If our diameter is 6, what's our radius going to be?
3.
3. Good. Half of your diameter. Good. So radius is 3. Then we need this L. And L, remember, is your slant height. So it's this dimension here, our slant height. And we need to find that by doing Pythagorean theorem. Okay? Because we have a right triangle formed within this cone that's a leg here, which is our radius of 3 by 8. And we need to find that hypotenuse, basically. Okay, so Pythagorean theorem says leg squared, 3 squared, plus other leg squared, which is 8 squared, equals our hypotenuse squared. In other words, x squared. Okay, go on and solve now. 3 squared is 9, plus 8 squared is 64, equals x squared. Okay, 9 plus 64 is 73. Again, equals x squared. I want to get x alone here, so I need to take the square root. Square root of 73, I guess we'll just get into decimal form. It's going to be an irrational, never-ending decimal. And it's 8 point, let's just call it 8.5. Okay, rounds to 8.5. That is our L. So maybe instead of calling it X, I could have called it L from the beginning, but knowing this formula, L is your slant height, so I guess I will go over here now and I will say L is 8.5. Okay, so we have R, we have L. That means we can go and plug into this formula to find our surface area. So it's going to be now just pi times R, which is 3 for us, times our L, which is 8.5, plus pi R squared. Our R is 3. What's 3 squared?
9.
9, so I'm just going to write 9. Okay. And now, remember, addition has to happen last, and that's what PEMDAS says. So now I have to do the multiplication first. So I'm doing pi times 3 times 8.5. That's 80.1. So we're calling this 80.1 right away, plus pi times 9.
So Sean, is it 80.1 or is it 80.7?
I got 80.1. Yeah, I got 80.1.
Did you do 3.14?
I did actual pi, so maybe that's why it's different. If you're off by a little bit like that, you'll be fine. If it's free response and you're off by a little bit like that, I won't penalize you. And if it's a multiple choice, there should only be one that's real close. So, and then this is 28.3. Add the two together, and you should get 108.4 when you round. We're talking surface area, so it's centimeters squared. Okay, moving on to the last one, 44. You wanted to replace the shingles on the roof of your shed. If roofing materials cost $20 per square meter, what is the total cost to replace the shingles on the roof? Okay, well the roof is only going to be the triangles within this pyramid, right? So we basically need to go ahead and find the surface area or the area of one of those triangles, and it's going to be the same as the area of all of those triangles. So it's going to be 4 times what's the area of one of those triangles. Well, that's not bad because it's just base times height divided by 2 for a triangle. What's the base here? 6. Good. Yeah, because it's 6 here, so that's got to be 6, and a height of 8. So good. 6 times 8 divided by 2, because it's base times height divided by 2 for a triangle. Let's see what that is. So 6 times 8 is 48. Okay. Divide that by 2. That's 24. Times it by 4. That's 96. Okay. And lastly, realize what it's saying. It's $20 per square meter. It's 96 total square meters on the roof. So we just lastly, to find out how much this is going to cost, we have to multiply it by the 20 per square meter. So 96 times 20 gets us the final answer of 1920. And we're talking dollars now. Okay. The nice thing here for volume in B is volume of composite figures is not hard at all. It's just find the volume of the prism on bottom, find the volume of the pyramid, and it's giving you the formula for each, so that's not bad. Okay, so let's do the prism first because that's what they have. Volume they say is base times height. Well, our base is 6 by 6, so it's 6 times 6 times 4. On top it's a pyramid, the bottom is a prism. Yep. So the prism is 6 by 6 by 4. 6 times 6 is 36. 36 times 4 is 144. So that's the volume of the prism, and now we just need to add it to the volume of the pyramid. Well, for the volume of the pyramid, we need the base and the height. Are we told the vertical height?
No.
Ooh, that's annoying. So we have to do the Pythagorean theorem to find the completely vertical height. So that adds a curveball, but we know the base is 6 by 6 again, so it's going to be 6 by 6, and we're going to have to, whatever it is, we got to find our height, and then it's going to be divided by 3, because that's the same as multiplying by a third. Okay? And to find that height, we're using the Pythagorean theorem, knowing that the height is in the center, so this leg has to be 3. So it's like saying, okay, 3 squared plus whatever that height is squared equals our slant height of 8 squared. Yes, sorry. Okay, because this leg would have to be 3. Why? Because it's half of 6, and then 8 is the hypotenuse, so now we need to solve for x. 3 squared is 9, plus x squared equals 8 squared is 64. Okay, got to subtract 9, just solving for x here. 64 minus 9 is 55. So x equals square root of 55. Which is about 7.4. Okay, so that is my vertical height. That's what I multiply by over here. And now I can find what's the volume of my pyramid. So 6 times 6 is 36, times 7.4, enter, it's 266.4, but I need to divide by 3 lastly, and that's 88.8. Okay, remember I'm trying to find the volume of the whole figure, so I need to add these two, 144 plus 88.8 is 232.8. And this was volume, so we now say meters cubed. Okay. We still have time to do just this last one because that way we did the entire front, the entire back. Equation of a circle should be fairly fresh in our head because it was just on the last unit test that you took. And if it's got a center of this and a radius of this, well, remember what the equation of a circle looks like. It's going to be something like this. Okay. And remember, it equals radius squared. So if my radius is 5, it's got to equal 5 squared. So this I know is going to be 25. Okay. Center, my x value of my center is -2. So what am I putting here?
+2.
+2. Good. Opposite of -2 is +2. Perfect. And then if I have a y value of 7, opposite of +7 is -7. So I put a -7. That's my equation of the circle. Okay. Part B. Nice. Okay, on your exam, you're not having to do the whole process where you're like, okay, fill in the blanks, do all that work. It's just going to be write it, given the center and radius, or given the equation, tell me the center and radius. What's going to be my center here? If I have a -4 here and a +1.
A 4 negative.
It's going to be a +4 and a -1 for the center. Exactly, because opposite of -4 is +4, opposite of +1, -1. My radius then, you always take the square root to find your radius. So if it equals 17, well, square root of 17 is my radius. You can call it straight up that. If it were multiple choice and it's giving you a decimal, well, then put square root of 17 in your calculator, find what that is. Okay, I think that's a good place to stop for today. That is the very front and the very back of your review. We'll keep it going next week.